before it's over, Peter?
Certainly think so.
Australia's premier sporting events. The 1981 Victorian Football League Grand Final between Carlton and Collingwood.
People are saying this is the worst Magpie side that they can ever remember.
They were probably the most talented team that I ever coached.
We had so much belief in each other, we would die for each other.
If you play for Collingwood, you hate Carlton. That's just the way it is.
When we go to Victoria Park, people are actually spitting on you.
The burden of not winning and losing so many grand finals, it feels sick.
The pressure was always there for Collingwood. I was playing for survival.
If you don't give it that emotional commitment, you're just not going to survive. Allen is out cold, or he was.
The jaw was swinging in the wind. It was completely severed. It was a good whack.
It was do or die to beat these guys. It was ingrained into us.
Good sides have an inner feeling that you can never be beaten.
When you play, you're in the moment. You always think you're a chance. Always.
Come with us as we leave the skyscrapers behind to the battlefields where the campaigns for 1981 were staged.
It was a great era to play football. We were weekend warriors, if you want to call it that. We all had a job and enjoyed playing football. It wasn't about money.
I just think it was more enjoyable in those days.
Putting that navy blue jumper on and running out onto the ground with guys that would give their heart and soul for you. That's what it was about.
You put on a jumper in AFL or VFL in those days, you just felt, you just grew another foot.
There was true footballers playing then, people who were good at their craft.
He's kicked them to the wrong man, and Mike Fitzpatrick, who says, don't do that to me, old fella.
But after the game, we probably might go into the aftermatch of theirs for an hour and a half, and they come into ours. So you're having a few beers with blokes you were trying to kill.
Coming out with a hand pass, kick knocks Johnson down.
A bit more accepted, to give a bloke a whack in the mouth if he deserved it was probably okay, and it actually self-policed the game because, if you gave one out, you were going to get one back.
Got 3 broken jaws out of behind the play incidents, a couple of broken noses. You put the jumper on again and off you go.
I thought I was a good-looking bloke, but I was kidding myself. My hair, I was always wrapped, but I had the part, which was like I had an axe. Someone had hit me in the top of the head with the axe.
We had mullets, sideburns, moustaches. It wasn't a good look.
Couldn't believe that we wore those shorts, but they were pretty tight.
We always thought the tight shorts were harder to grab, You look at them now, it looks so stupid.
They were short shorts, but that was, the footballers were much better looking back then.
And they were all right. They looked like they were painted on.
Tony Shore and Billy Pickett, they love tight shorts.
The girls like that sort of stuff. I don't reckon I get one leg into them now these days.
Past the halls of learning and deserted playing fields of Princes Park, where memories linger of Carlton's triumphs.
When I arrived, it was a real cultural shock.
Yeah, he had no idea. Seriously, had no idea what our football club was like.
And he's walked through, and I'll never forget it. We all got a pot of beer in our hand, and a couple of the guys smoking.
He walked in and he goes, what's going on here? It's what we do. And his jugulars have expanded. You could see he wasn't happy, and he's got up on stage and went ballistic.
Sunday morning we had recovery. I'd be home at 10 or 11 o'clock. And they sat up in the players' room and drank until 4 or 5 in the afternoon. I'd be getting phone calls from wives and girlfriends and mothers saying, where are my sons?
Of course we had a couple of drinks. We tried to even give Parko a drink, but he could sniff vodka in his orange juice. He used to reek of orange juice. He used to give us blood tests in the morning, on a Sunday, fair dinkum. He did a test on us after a game, and 75% were all still alcohol infused. He goes, well, it's all going to stop. I'm going to stop it right now. But he didn't stop it. I thought he was terrific. After a while, he worked out that we weren't too bad of people.
Wonderful group of players who were absolutely and totally committed in a way that I didn't see as an opposition person.
No Collingwood forever.
Footy back then was tribal.
It was incredible because it was suburb versus suburb.
You've got to hate them. If you're going to play for Carlton, Collingwood you hate.
If you play for Collingwood, you hate Carlton. You certainly, respect them, but you hate them.
The rivalry between those two clubs was unbelievable. People got the shakes and people said and did nasty things. People change.
We'd go to Victoria Park and we'd come off the ground and you'd think it was raining and it was quite a fine day, but it was people were actually spitting on you.
The supporters were fantastic. They can see no wrong in their own. So one of the players could murder his mum and they'd probably say, oh, well, she had it coming.
I didn't know anyone on the Collingwood board, but when we played Carlton, they'd all be in the rooms before the game and after the game, and when we won, I've never seen a happier group.
Magpie coach firmly believes that the road to success begins by learning the correct skills on the training track.
When I got to Collingwood, people are saying this is the worst Magpie side that they can ever remember. Maggies were on the bottom of the ladder. The first time ever, this great club. I just felt that we had to train a lot harder than what they obviously had been.
A lot of things have been said about, Tommy and how we trained. So you thought the fitness was always going to be great for us.
Tommy's tough, no question he's tough, but he lives it himself. We were the fittest team, I believe, in the league, no problem. And that's why with what some would say, moderately talented teams overall, we were able to be so competitive.
Tommy was just an inspirational leader and a fantastic coach.
Tommy had instilled great belief in the group and loved his players with a passion.
Many people said, oh, when you coach the Maggies, that's what footy was all about. You couldn't wait to get to see your team quick enough.
A subliminal bonding all the time with Tommy, and that's probably why we were so close as a group.
And Tommy came, as everybody knows, in '77 and took the team from the bottom to the grand final in the 1 year, the only time that had ever been done.
Hafey had won 4 premierships before crossing to Collingwood this season.
And they went from bottom to top. It was absolutely sensational.
A Carlton Collingwood Grand Final is the ultimate in league football. A battle between the two most bitter rivals in the 84-year history of the VFL.
I just love playing against Carlton. That day we had 112,000 in the 81 Grand Final, but every game you played against Carlton, you had 80,000.
Two biggest sides in the whole competition was Collingwood and Carlton. Turn up to the ground. Spectacular feeling.
Hafey had been with the Magpies for 5 seasons and was taking a side into its 5th Grand Final.
4 of the 5 were winnable.
You've lost 3 or 4 Grand Finals, you've been involved in them, and you think, this might have been my last opportunity.
There was a groundswell of angst amongst the Collingwood people to try and win one.
They were carrying the weight of expectation. It became a terrible handicap to carry.
It's absolutely essential that we wipe off the memories of what's happened in the past, and this is a different day completely.
The time is now for the 1981 VFL Grand Final. A great season was capped with a thrilling climax. The tension was electrifying, the atmosphere magnificent, the stage was set.
The tension building up is always huge.
Tommy would always have breakfast at 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning before the game and watch some boxing fight or some motivational thing, as if you needed to be motivated for the grand final.
Back in the dressing room of the Carlton Football Club, you see the players lying there, relaxing.
Being locked in the rooms is a nightmare for players. You want to get into your office, which is on the grass outside.
Running out of the race and looking up into this almighty crowd, I think there's about 115,000 people there at the time, and just having a look around and going, this is what it's all about.
Collingwood side ready to come into the ground. They're all gathering around there. Peter Moore will leave them on the ground. And listen to this crowd go.
When you ran out, the noise would fluctuate up and down, descend and crescend or whatever, to your breathing.
My overriding thought was before the game, I thought if we didn't win, they were going to shoot us. It was that big a deal for the Collingwood people.
We needed to get off to a good start. We needed to sow the seeds of doubt, if you like.
Two captains shaking hands now, Fitzpatrick and Moore.
They were a fantastic side. There was really not a lot between us.
We both won 17 games, so we weren't scared of Carlton.
We'd played Carlton twice during the year and beaten them both times. You know, we went in with some expectations.
So it's the first quarter now of the 1981 VFL Grand Final between Collingwood and Carlton. Mike Fitzpatrick gets the first tap out, it goes to Sheldon.
Fitzy was as good a leader as I've had the privilege of coaching. He could produce like very few other footballers.
Fitzpatrick doing a marvellous job on the ruck, he's hardly missed a knockout.
Mike's just a fantastic leader, absolute natural leader.
One of the best captains I ever played under. If anyone touched the little blokes, he would be in there in a flash.
If there was one player you wanted out of the Carlton side, it was Mike Fitzpatrick, because he knitted that whole group together.
Kick back towards centre wing position, a fine mark for Fitzpatrick. He's about best on the ground at the moment.
Yeah, he's supposed to be a bloody Rhodes Scholar. I wish he just stuck to that sort of stuff.
I never liked to see Fitzy have a good game. If I didn't beat anyone, I wanted to beat him.
Fitzpatrick once again, he's dominated those centre mounts.
Moore was a Brownlow medalist and a particularly good athlete, but what most people didn't know is that Michael Fitzpatrick was a state 800-metre champion too.
Edged out by the Magpie skipper and the Carlton captain to take the free kick in the back pocket.
Peter Moore, for instance, was just a great player. He was a great ruckman. He was very athletic, and if he got started, he was very, very hard to slow down.
He's such an athletic guy. He's 6'6" or something. He could jump over the moon.
Peter Moore, can he take this mark? Well, he's handled it. He's got the mark.
Morey went into the game with a real concern.
Peter Moore under a cloud before this game with a torn hamstring. No, he's missed it.
He's trying to get over a sort of grade 1 hamstring in 2 weeks. Trained on the Thursday night before the grand final and really couldn't run. Tommy talked to me and he really wanted me to play, and I wasn't confident that I was fit enough.
Playing an injured player never helps.
It was disappointing. So they have a little bit of cloud hanging over Peter.
Towards half forward, Moore on the chest, couldn't take it.
I'll tell you what, Moore doesn't look too good to me.
We went in knowing that Peter Moore was under a cloud, and he actually played full forward most of the day.
It was the worst kept secret in the world because Carlton knew exactly what was going on. So they played Scott Howell on me, who's pretty mobile, and he ran away, and I just couldn't run with him.
Every time there's a kick-off, Howell takes off to the other side of the ground with obvious intentions of making Moore run around.
In retrospect, I shouldn't have played. It was, for me personally, it was a poor decision. Accept responsibility for going out there.
And I see Barham was limping out of that pack. Yes, he was. He was holding his...
I broke a couple of ribs in the first final we played.
They went in with 3 players who'd struggled to make it there.
Oh, Barham, he fumbled.
You cannot do it in grand finals.
So we had thoracic surgery to kill a couple of the nerve chains along the ribs so I could play. That didn't heal properly.
Oh, that was a bit of a clash.
But everyone plays with injuries. Once you're out there and you a few little painkillers, it was okay.
Finally picked up by Rene King over to Ricky Barham. Goes for a long kick looking for Moore. He's had a shot at goals. It's through. Great goal. Great goal by Ricky Barham.
That was one of our problems, is we didn't have any depth. So, really slightly injured players for us were probably better than what else we had available.
You're just hoping that everybody's going to be up there and maybe lift their game, because a lot of players have been absolutely sensational when they've had clouds over them.
Oh, he's got around his opponent beautifully. A running shot for goal, doesn't make the distance. Up the top of the pack as they go for Williams, a snapper to goal.
The pressure was enormous all the time. There's only one pill, and you still got to beat him to the ball.
Buckley has the chance now at centre field. Trying the short pass, looking for Mackay, great mark. 15-metre penalties as umpire Mike Dye.
All the matchups were pretty even. So we're right in the game from the start.
Mackay stabs at the kick. So Carlton come back now.
At a quarter time in the 1981 Grand Final, it's Collingwood 2 goals, 6-18 points to Carlton 2-4-16.
Well, even though the score was as close as it was and the game appeared to, we thought we were still controlling most of the ball.
The Blues were, say, a real star-studded team, and they had a lot of character about them as well. So it was never going to be easy.
I've got the feeling that we'll see a lot better football in these next 3 quarters.
The jaw was swinging in the wind. It was completely severed that side and that side.
He was walking around with a fair bit of blood on him.
He had probably more enemies in the game than any other player I've ever met.
Collingwood players knocked out.
Allen it is, Luke. Allen is out cold, or he was.
We're short of players anyway, and then Graham Allen got, King hit early.
He doesn't look too good, Graham Allen. I think he will be assisted from the ground.
I was on one knee and I was shaking my head and I'm thinking, I'm all right. I copped a whack. I didn't know who from or where from.
Dom's giving him the biggest left hand right into the mouth, and the blood just started coming out.
When I stood up, I tried to bite down and the jaw was swinging in the wind. It was completely severed that side and that side. I couldn't stop the jaw from swinging around.
He was walking around with a fair bit of blood on him. A guy walking around with a busted jaw and blood streaming everywhere.
So I stayed for the whole game, watched it on the bench, and then I went to hospital.
You don't like losing a good player, and he was a very good player for us, and that's just the breaks you get.
I just got a whack. I should have been more alert. There was no big drama.
When he hit you, the Dominator, he hit you.
Wayne Johnson, probably more enemies in the game than any other player I've ever met.
A snarly little bloke.
Johnson goes in pretty hard.
You give him one, he would absolutely give it back twice, 3 times.
I think I counted 21 times leading into the finals where the Dom had a crack at me and belted me. This is that training.
He's playing a great game for Carlton so far.
He played on the edge, but generated more, I think, productivity when it came to winning finals than any Carlton player in the history of the game.
Knocked away by Mackay, straight to Johnston, snaps it, goal. Ashman underneath it, couldn't take it, then it bounces through.
I mean, Dom was a freak of a player, and it wouldn't surprise me that he's done a leg break and it's gone through. If you asked Tom, he'd probably say he meant it.
Wayne wasn't the most popular opponent, I don't think, for anybody. I mean, partly because of the way he carried on, he was beating his own chest continuously, but that was him and that was his ego.
I'm not sure who nominated him the Dominator, probably him himself.
Dacos bounces off on McClure, sends Collingwood deep into attack.
Playing on Peter Dacos, you just know that he can change a game in 1 or 2 minutes.
He could do so many mercurial things that, the stuff that players do now, Dakes led the way.
At the Stewart and turn to Tony Shaw. The Magpies are of light. Here's Dacos, snap for goal coming up, it's on target, look at that for goal!
I always felt that he'd build up just for the Carlton games, and he played some great games against them.
See Dacos going down. That'll be a blow to Collingwood holding his knee.
It will be a tragedy for Collingwood if Dacos is not 100% fit. He didn't look too good.
Notice that Dacos is still in the hands of the trainer out there. A chance now for Barham to pick it up. Gets a hurried kick back. Out there towards Dacos. He's got the mark.
And Peter Dacos, who was in the hands of the trainers, back out there and looks okay.
He was always playing half-injured.
Hey, everybody hurts.
Knocked away by Fitzpatrick. McConville went through without the ball. Dacos got offloaded.
No, you never worry about what's happened. You always worry about what you're going to do next.
Looking for Moore, of course, who's in front, and then he got the mark.
There was heaps of pressure, and that's what you do. You hopefully perform under pressure, and that's the reason you play the game.
He had a headband on. Well, he had to keep that hair in.
Snares it well, Dool. Beautifully done.
That was part and parcel of his armour.
If you took it off his head, he'd go crazy.
Dool in front of the pack. Can't complete the mark. Playing on well without the headband.
To uncap Bruce with his band was probably the thing that no Carlton person wanted to see. The only time I ever saw him get out of control.
You couldn't touch him, he was God.
And Bahagia has gone and taken his headband off and thrown it into the crowd. And everyone thought, oh my God, Dooley's going to go ballistic.
The flying gourmet lost his headband.
He's just gone to his sock, pulled out another headband and whacked it on.
He fumbled the ball, down he goes. Umpire call play on, and what a game this guy's playing. A magnificent bit of football. Once again, it's Dool the way to take a good mark in defeat. And what a game Dool's playing at the moment.
Did he ever play a bad game?
He never didn't play a blinder.
Picking up towards half forward, Dool goes the spoil. McConville gives it to him.
If you talk to any player that played with him in that era, they'd all say that Bruce Dool was the best player that they played with.
He was probably the first bloke that I know that could spoil a ball, but hit a bloke on the chest who's roving to him.
Big punch by Dool.
He just goes into the history as one of the greats, but I don't think giving him enough credit. He was a super player.
Out towards the right half forward flank, Davis and Gould. Knocked away by Gould.
You see Doolin man up on an opposition player and you can see the bloke's head just go down and think, oh my God, I'm in for a shocker today.
The most trusted player in AFL football, in my opinion, was Bruce Dool.
And he's getting away from Byrne. He's played a great game, Bruce Dool.
I actually thought Bruce Dool was the heart and soul of this place. He's probably one of the greatest players we've ever seen.
That Carlton defence standing up as Stewart breaks out of the pack and a bit of walking, fancy dancing. The ball up there towards the goals. Will it make it? It's a goal! So the Magpies are back in front by a point.
We would go into many games where the first half we would be behind, but full of confidence.
Coming in there as Harms, he goes down, tapped on again by McConville, brilliantly over to Wells. Another hand pass to Mail, and this looks dangerous. He's grabbed him clear, he fires at the goals, and it could be through for 1 point.
I don't think there was any panic. I still think that we were confident that we're going to win the game.
Glasgow at centre field, putting Carlton into attack after that mark. Half forward, Mackay couldn't take it. Here's Maven running into an open goal and has missed an absolute sitter.
There was certainly a concern that we had to sort of break free of them.
You have to play them for every minute of the game. You can't expect to just them to roll over.
See the siren go for the end of the second quarter, and Carlton in front by a point.
Half-time, all we did was reinforce the original message. To actually ask somebody to change their game in the middle of the game is an absolute stupidity when you think about it.
And the game's played for 100 minutes. You've got to just make certain everything goes right.
A very exciting first half, and of course a point the difference that's still anybody's game.
To me, I think we just lost the plot.
They were arguing with each other.
People were getting involved from outside in the huddle and somebody's panicking.
In the press box, the Herald's chief football reporter, Mike Sheehan, has been analysing the first half.
The first half was as tight as any other game.
The wind has died down, certainly, but I can vouch for the fact that it is pretty wet out there.
Like all grand finals, the third quarter could be the vital one.
The team at Collingwood, they just had massive self-belief.
We'd had enough of coming second. We were out to try and win one.
Picking it up as Irwin gives it to Dacos and turn over to Tony Shaw. Useful handball to Taylor, who skirts well, shoots at goal and has put it through for a great goal. Taylor
Came out after half-time and frankly they got us.
We didn't see much of the ball. I think for about 15, 20 minutes they were, pretty dominant.
King breaking clear, shrugs the tackle from English, pops it up short. Tony Shaw will mark.
In that third quarter, I thought, gee, they're gone here. I thought we had them.
In he comes, Tony Shaw for his first goal. If it's accurate, the goal umpire says 4 points. And Collingwood strike a purple patch. Tony Shaw's first goal.
You feel a little bit better and thinking now we've just got to make certain we try and get another one and stop them from scoring.
Knocked out to Stewart again by Moore. No one can get clear. There's strong players. We see a pick up by Shaw. A snap for goal. It's there. I think he may have put it through. A beautiful goal.
To me, my thing was to give the ball to Ray if I could, because he's a beautiful kick where I wasn't. But there is something that how your brother relates to things in a pack, or where he is at certain times.
One thing we had was ferocious competitors. Choco was a great example of that.
Clear, finally it's picked up, but smothered. There's a go for Williams. Can he pick it up? He's kicked it off the ground. Oh,
what a goal it was. was as some ratbag threw a piece of paper at him.
Feelings of great emotion that, you know, we're on our way, and let's keep this going.
Mark Williams played very, very well. He was a really big occasion player.
Yeah, Mark was a leader straight away at the club. Great competitor. I've never seen a midfielder tackle so hard.
There's Williams coming out of the pack. Brilliant play at centre half. Magnificent play by the ex-South Australian.
They got a bit of a run on. We knew we had to bide our time and not let them get too far in front.
And a great mark there to McClure. A beautiful mark out there at half forward. And Dill's kick us out towards the wing position. This gives McClure an open break.
You're actually with a bunch of risk takers. If you want to play this game, you've got to be a risk taker.
It's a long kick. McClure and pick and go for this one. Oh, McClure's got the mark. A beautiful mark by Mark McClure.
And in those days, you played on a person for the rest of the whole game, which I actually love.
You pretty much knew who you're going to get, and you'd played on that player before. You knew them inside out, and they knew you inside out.
Bazasto, beautiful kick. Right up towards the 10-metre square. Picking up the back and marks. Getting the better of McClure at the moment. And thought about doing the molly and then thought better on.
And I've played on Billy a lot of times. Arguably one of the best players on the ground.
Aspen's well covered as the ball goes back out there. Oh, McClure got into his opponent's back that time.
McClure versus Picken. You know, what a fantastic rivalry.
Right across there towards centre field. Oh, we got one out again. Billy Picken against McClure.
Billy Picken was always a great performer. Hardly ever played a bad game.
It's a long kick for Billy Picken. It's a long kick for anyone. Perrick with a chance to mark. Knocked away by Rene King. Gets a hand pass out. The Barham has snapped the goal. He's put it through. Another goal to Collingwood. 21 points in front.
I remember getting a few goals up, you know, and here we go. We're a chance here.
We were concerned, no doubt, in the third quarter.
We were in trouble. Halfway through the third quarter, they were 20-odd points in front.
Absolutely, you get worried. Sort of didn't know what to do.
When we had the run on, I thought, you know, here we go. We're in it.
25-minute mark of the third quarter. I'm thinking, boys, we're nearly there now.
But don't start celebrating yet, fellas, because it's a long way from over.
That doesn't give you the imprimatur to go and say, well, we won the game. It's, you know they're going to come back.
Good sides have an inner feeling that you can never be beaten.
Finally attempt to Goodwin loses the ball as they go now for Aspen to fire at the goals. And what's he done with it? A goal. So they're coming back, Carlton.
A wrestle, out comes Flavor with the ball, over the top of a handball. Buckley lines them up, steadies on its way, and it's a goal. Carlton are coming back.
They really had the edge on us and it was going to be a long way back for us, but we're lucky to be able to get a couple of goals late.
Those two goals really hurt us because it gave them some momentum.
Well, I thought Collingwood had them there for a while, Bob, because they led by 21 points and the Blues pegged them back and they're well within striking distance again.
We're walking into the huddle and I'll never forget Jimmy Buckley is saying, guys, we've got them. We've got them. They are gone. You can see in their eyes. And he just kept saying to all of us, we've got them.
They kicked a goal right on three-quarter time, which probably didn't help our mindset.
Well, we see Tommy Hafey there giving the players a bit of a talking to. I don't know whether he's paying out on them, but Pete or not, but he's certainly ranting and raving.
Very disappointing when we had a massive chance at three-quarter time, but things happened that shouldn't have happened.
They were having a bit of a argument with each other. And
one of our board members, Thorol Merritt, thought that he'd have a go at Ricky Barham for not maybe going hard enough when he should. And Ricky was pretty dirty on it too. But look, Thorol was totally in the wrong.
People were getting involved from outside in the huddle and somebody's panicking, aren't they?
The focus was sort of taken away when it shouldn't have been taken away for that short period of time. To me, I think we just lost the plot.
Carlton have this unbelievable culture that we are the best in the business.
It just feels like it's happening again. It was just overwhelming.
Because you always think you're a chance. Always.
Today, these towers will beam the triumphs and heartbreaks of young men around the country.
Last quarter, you're hoping that you're going to come home stronger than the opposition.
As players now take up their positions for the final quarter of the 1981 season.
I conned them or sold them the message that we were looking better.
I remember David Park in that three-quarter time saying that they're gone, you know, their legs are gone, and they gave us a lot of confidence.
Collingwood leading by 9 points.
You always think you're a chance. Always.
Moore scrapes it in right on the point of the square over Scott Howe.
We were still in front and, you know, we had a chance to win it if we were good enough.
I know we came away from the huddle pretty ferocious and determined.
Breaking clear, Bazzasto, Mr Magic, snaps at goal.
The inclusion of Kenny Hunter and Bazzasto, the two Western Australians in '81, just added that extra dimension.
It'll be a mark to Bazzasto, Mr Magic.
Exceptionally talented, unstable extrovert.
He had all the attributes of an absolute star.
That was an Academy Award performance, that one.
And we all just used to grew to love Buzz for who he was, and you know, you could walk the talk.
Bazzasto, beautiful ball. Short pass, superb, and that's a mark.
Bazzasto was the best defensive forward in the modern game today. He would be absolutely brilliant.
Ball shot out there towards the half-back and a beautiful mark to Hunter.
Kenny Hunter came across and I was astounded at his courage and the way he ran at the ball.
Dacos can't get into the clear. Hunter's there with him.
Introverted, brave, brilliant.
Ken Hunter just went to places where he shouldn't have gone a lot of times. His courage was as great as I've ever seen.
Hunter is there, playing good football now. Very confident football indeed. 10 points the difference. There's a go now for Sheldon, a hurried shot for goal. He's put it through. 4 points the difference now.
Buckley and Johnston. Johnston gets it out. Long towards half forward. Mackay flies. Ashman scouts well. 12 metres out and goals. Carlton hit the front in the final term.
I think you've got to look at their small players. You know, Ashman, Sheldon, those types of players were just enormous.
The Mosquito fleet. Magnificent bunch of guys.
Marku showing plenty of pace, doing a good job and getting clear of Dacos.
Whalen goes down, he's up. He finally kicks the ball out wide. On his own out there is Little Glasgow, got the open spaces. A hand pass over to Rahams. Back to Glasgow this time. And he's got a clear run. He'll have a long kick up there towards the goal.
But they're small guys who were starting to carve us up and we just couldn't go with them.
Palms looks for a teammate with a long hand pass and finds one in the person of Ashman. A little chip up towards Wells. Wells, short pass again. Right half forward to Marku, who takes it in front of McCormack.
Best group of small men that probably ever played in the one team at the one time.
Drops it into Fitzpatrick. Burned too late on the scene. Skipper goes to Marku.
We used to tell the big blokes all the time that, you know, without this little Mosquito fleet, they'd be nothing. We used to make them look good all the time.
They made me, they made Perce Jones, they made Wow Jones look like better ruckmen because they took balls out of the middle that arguably we hadn't had a lot to do with.
It's over there towards Kinky, couldn't hold the mark. Goes after the ball again. In goes Dacos. Beautiful play by Harms. He takes it away from the pack. He's breaking clear over the centre half. We'll get a running shot for goal. This will be a long one. It's a beautiful goal by Wayne Harms. Great goal.
He could change a game.
Harmsy is an impact player. I think only surpassed by Gary Ablett.
What a great mark for Harms.
My first training run. Blokes are mucking around in the jump pit. Walk down the hill, here's Wayne Harms going over 6 feet in the high jump. He was a genuine leader when things were tough.
Up the top of the pack is Wayne Harms. He's clear at centre field. A long kick to McCrumple over to Harms. That back line standing up pretty well as it goes out there and a mark to Marku. Carlton playing with a lot of confidence.
Once we started to grind in the start of the last quarter and really put some pressure on the opposition, the goals started to come. They just started to roll and away we went.
Mark McClure comes in for the kick. There's no doubt about that. It's right through the middle. Time is running out now for the Magpies.
When they start getting a couple of easy goals and you miss goals yourself.
He's taken a pot shot for the goal. Will he make the distance? Moore put his hands to it and stopped it. It could have gone through for a point.
The realisation that you're likely to lose is not a great feeling. And then a desperate to the last effort, I went on the ball.
More from the back, mammoth punch down, but it goes unfortunately to Wells.
Carlton have this unbelievable culture that we are the best in the business, and that's what you've got to produce.
I think that's the thing about the Carlton side. They can be down for a long while, but they've got that cover.
There's the kick by Mackay. It's a beautiful kick, and that one would seal the doom for Collingwood, I would say. The Carlton side have the 1981 Grand Final really bottled up now.
There was jubilation. We knew we had it, and we're running around looking at each other in the eyes and going, boys, we've got it.
Carlton were just running over us at the end.
The control just went out of our hands and we couldn't do anything about it.
And Collingwood this quarter have only scored 2 points.
23 years since they won a grand final. Well, it's got to be 24 now.
It just feels like it's happening again. It was just overwhelming.
To be in such a position so many times and not get the result, your feet feel heavy, your heart feels heavy.
Magpies have lost this match for sure.
Oh, you feel sick, you know. Anyone who's played in one, it's the whole season's built for that finale.
David Parkin on the boundary there. He knows his side's going to win the premiership. Well, there's the siren, and Carlton have won the 1981 grand final.
And a great victory for the Blues, completely in command in the final quarter.
When it came to the finish, they crumbled. Had it been played for another quarter, I'm telling you, we would have won by 5 or 6 goals, no doubt about it in my mind.
People say our collywobbles and all that stuff. In the last quarter, we ran out of legs.
It is the worst day of your life, so what could be the greatest day of your life turns the other way very, very quickly.
Tom Hafey's relationship with that team fell apart after that.
Jesus Christ, might have had a bit of trouble getting them up.
We're all going to the lodge, boys. We're going to the lodge.
The presses have been geared for the siren, and minutes later, news of Carlton's record-equalling 13th premiership is being distributed throughout Melbourne.
Let's go down now to Stephen Phillips, and he will talk with Ken Hunter.
Thanks, Louis. Ken, a magnificent game across the half-back line. What's it like to play in your first VFL premiership side?
Well, it's a fantastic feeling. I thought halfway through the
To come over in my first year and to achieve that in my first year was just absolutely unbelievable.
Congratulations to the Carlton Club on winning that premiership.
You're exhausted, worn out, drained, emotionally. There's a vacuum there emotionally. You're just sort of like, I don't know what's happening.
I staggered out of that game, I must admit, with probably in my footy life, the greatest sense of relief and the joy that you might think that's associated with something like that, I did not have.
Just a real sense of elation. You just catch it just for a moment.
I didn't understand how deep their conviction and their confidence was to do the job. And they locked in immediately, we're going to get back to back.
Collingwood players going through to receive their medals for runners-up. They shouldn't be too disappointed.
But it's probably poor sportsmanship, but I, as captain, threw mine to the crowd because I didn't want to be seen to accept coming second.
I had one and I'm pretty sure I threw it in the bin in the rooms.
I certainly don't want it back. Whoever's got it can have it.
I reckon if you asked most of those guys if they still had their medal, I'm not sure whether they would or not.
The winner of the Norm Smith medal, Bruce Dill.
Well, Jones was interviewed the next day and he said, it was a great game, but it wasn't fair. And the journalist sort of thought he was onto something. He said, what do you mean, Warren? He said, Dilly was on our side.
Probably the next couple of days, that's when they'll let themselves go.
Day after the grand final, we've all turned around to Parko and I said, come on, Parko, you haven't had one all year. You promised if we do win the grand final, I'll have a can of VB and a cigar.
I can vividly remember Parkin having a cigarette hanging out of his mouth and having a drink of beer.
Knock and Fraser before the game started. She said, look, boys, if you win today, I'll fly up to the lodge on Monday. The Prime Minister's residence. Towards the end of the game, we're all going to the lodge, boys, we're going to the lodge.
Win next year and be back here next year.
And some great stories came out of it. I'll let the others tell those.
I think they acquired a few items towards the end of the night.
Coat of arms, sterling silver fork, knives, spoons. They're all framed up at guys' places now. A nasty letter come from the lodge saying, we want all our stuff back. Never happened.
A lot of the senior players thought that, they've been training too hard.
There's a bit of criticism, I guess, of Tom that he trained us really hard before grand finals.
It was a long training session. I remember Tommy took us through most of the drills he knew, I think, on that Thursday night.
In the end, maybe that hard Thursday night, if we hadn't had it, we might have held on.
It could have been too hard for them. It wasn't too hard for Shepparton. But when you're looking for excuses, you find everything, don't you, if it come to that?
It was a breakdown of the relationship between the coach and the players.
In fact, it was hands up to you, so you call that a vote as such, maybe just a show of strength.
There was a lot of disgruntled players.
It was just like a lack of confidence move sort of way. The committee got gist of it.
And they called me in, and I said to myself, I know what they're going to say, don't take any of those articles. The rumours here, and because, mate, we're behind you to a man. They said, you got the sack. But it was disappointing to be sacked the way I was, because I was there for 5 full years, we're in 5 grand finals.
Club imploded because of that loss in the grand final.
That grand final probably resulted in me leaving Collingwood.
They do to the coach, once you won the flag, you can do as you like, because the coach couldn't care a damn about it.
They were probably the most talented team that I ever coached in terms of pure talent.
And the captain of the victors going around the ground now.
Bond you have with other players who've won premierships with you is that knowledge that that's what you did. You put everything you had on the line and you got there.
And the ultimate disappointment that we shared probably makes us closer than we might have been had we won.
You've got to take it and move on. If you get in that hole, it's bloody hard to get out.
Look, everybody's not going to win the premiership, but I think you've got to be judged on what you get out the players that are there. Like West Eden's sides that Mickey Mouse could have coached to win the premiership. I've seen other sides that, Jesus Christ, might have had a bit of trouble getting them up. I think we probably got the best out of what we had.
Probably didn't have enough star players in the end, but those teams, coached by anyone else, probably would have done not much.
I love the club. One game here, and I consider them that they're a Carlton player forever, that the blue blood's in their veins.
I learnt some incredible lessons coming into this footy club about how to live. The start of me as a person.
To be able to play on the MCG in a grand final, 112,000, a great traditional rivalry, and it go right down to the wire. It's number one for me, the highlight of my playing career.
You know, I was proud to have played for them and to be a part of their history, and I was really disappointed I couldn't have been captain for another 10 years.
To win a grand final, to play with guys you truly, love and, admire, it's exhilarating.
And we still have that bond, and you'll never forget it. We never forget it. When we see each other, it's a bit of a hug, sometimes even a man kiss.
It's a special bond. That's just the way it is.
No one can take it off you. And that's a fine thing, I think, to have through your life.